Hello, my name is Anthony. I'll be demonstrating the sterile field as well as setting up, putting some items on the sterile field and then putting on some sterile gloves. So to begin with, gather all the necessary equipment. I have in my box that comes with everything I need. I'm going to do some hand hygiene. And then when I'm done, I gotta find a surface that's waist level, like a table or the bed. Make sure there's nothing on it. It's clean, free of dust and dirt. And then I'll begin, in this case, like unboxing it. But normally you have a wrapper and you would take that off. So I did that. I'm gonna fold the edges over. So I'm folding it away from each other. I'm gonna start off that side. Now, normally this would be a lot flatter, right? And then I could set up my sterile field on top of it. It's gonna be hard to do it since it's a box, so temporarily do that. And for a sterile field, it's gonna be kind of a piece of paper. So I grab it by the edges, by the corner, because they're non-sterile, and it's also 1-inch board is not sterile. So drape it on this thing. You'd also check the paper because it's normally gonna come with the shiny, not shiny. The non-shiny goes down, and the shiny goes down. So that's how you know which way, if it is correct or not, based on the stereo, if it's sterile. So the next one I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add items to it. So for example, let's say I wanted to add some gauze, or like there's a tongue depressor I want to do. I have my little container, or little package I should say. I'm gonna peel open halfway, right? While still being on top of the sterile field piece of gauze, I'm gonna hold the edges, and then about like 6 inches above, I drop my equipment. That way, I'm not touching it, not contaminating it, and it still stays sterile. Throw away the packaging, toss it off the side. Next thing I'm gonna do is put on gloves. So there's a packaging for that. You do not want to put this on top of the sterile field. So go off to the side, unwrap it. I'm using normal like gloves on it. Made the cuffs go a little bit higher, but same concept. I have to think of it. It's still sterile. So my fingers, my non-dominant hand I'm gonna start with, not gonna touch the outside of the glove, only the inside. Then slide my hand in. Cuffs kind of went through, so it's okay. Don't bother it anymore. My dominant hand, I'm gonna touch the outside of the glove because that's sterile. Then I'm gonna put my hand through that. Now they feel comfortable. Make sure they're not loose. I didn't puncture them. They're not dirty. Stuff like that. So then what I'm gonna do now is pour some, like a sterile, have a sterile cup and some solution. So the cup that they have already prepackaged is sterile. And then what I'm gonna do next is gonna pour the liquids. Normally you bring your own, so I brought my own. Since I'm touching it, my non-dominant hand now is non-sterile. My dominant hand is still sterile. So I put my hand over the label of the container, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour it. So I'm gonna make sure that it's still sealed. If it is, I'm gonna unseal it. So now they're both contaminated, and in this case, open it up. Being 1 to 2 inches above the container, how I'm gonna pour it, with the label facing up. Next thing I want to note is that since I broke sterile field, I'm gonna have to take my gloves off, put on new sterile gloves if I want to continue the procedure of what I need to do. Let's just say that that's done, blah blah blah, I'm done with the procedure. I'm gonna take my gloves and dispose of them correctly. So touch that cuff, fold it into a ball. With my dominant hand, go on the skin, wrap it underneath, throw in the trash. And then what I'm gonna do put everything away, and then hand hygiene. This is how you set up a sterile field, along with adding any equipment that you need to it, and then putting on sterile gloves.